those who believe that life here began out there, far across the universe, with tribes of humans who may have been the forefathers of the Egyptians, or the Toltecs, or the Mayans. Some believe that there may yet be brothers of man who even now fight to survive somewhere beyond the heavens.
All righty. Um, our great commander in arms or in whatever is at the moment probably in bed because he had some procedures done today, so he won't be available. However, we do have Admiral Greg and Adama who let us off in the most phenomenal opening. I swear, you have the greatest voice since the original actor did it. You really need
Woo!
to do more work. Um, so I don't know how you guys want to do it. If you want to just jump in and say different things, if you want to do it beat by beat. I'm not as good as Roger, but I'll work with whatever you guys want to do.
Have you got any notes, Greg?
I have no notes, but I did watch it very carefully. Actually, watched it. So, we can start with general impressions. See who we've got hanging out with us tonight in the chat. And then start picking at specific things if we want.
Sounds good to me. How about you, Adama?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, then, Greg, why don't you go ahead and start then?
All
We'll just
right.
kind of do a round robin type of thing.
We'll do a round robin sort of thing. So tonight we are talking about the classic Battlestar Galactica episode, Greetings from Earth. And in this episode, we have the crew of the Galactica encountering an unfamiliar spacecraft that is carrying humans. So it starts off with a great sci-fi premise, and then gets a little social and a little silly in the second half. So I had forgotten like all the good sci-fi parts of it and only remembered the silly androids, but I was remembering it as a 10-year-old. So
What about you, Adama?
Yeah, it's a tale of two halves. In fact, it later got divided into two separate episodes. But yeah, the first half I think is a great uh, episode with good like philosophy and character interactions among our crew, and then we get into the second half, and it's a backdoor pilot for a series that might have potentially replaced Galactica as a low budget alternative, the same way Star Trek did with Assignment Earth, but
Mm-hmm.
it would definitely not have been good.
the cast was good. The actor that played Michael was very familiar to television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Randolph Mantooth.
who is a Sacramento boy, which is my hometown, and also probably one of my biggest crushes ever. So seeing my two favorite men on screen, well, technically my three favorite. You had Starbuck, which was Dirk Benedict. You had um, everything else all combined. The only thing that you were missing, unfortunately, is the younger brother got killed off, which was Zach. It'd been perfect to have all four of them on screen. Of course, I'd just be sitting there drooling as a pre-teenager on through. But speaking of unusual members and things of the cast, did you realize that all the children were all Gwen A. Larson's kids?
Yeah,
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 which I thought
I
except for
was
noticed
one,
that in the credits.
yeah, except the one. Yeah, I thought that was
and
really kind of neat.
she was actually Lauren Green's daughter,
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to mention that. Yeah.
Yeah,
and she's
Melian.
now married to Sam Raimi.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah.
kind of cool.
So Baby Walker was played by David G.
Hmm.
Omega was David Greenan, and Donner was No, not Donner. Charity was Michelle.
Yep. So I
So that
always
was
But
pretty cool.
yeah, Todd was Eric Larson.
yes.
Yep. So I thought
I
that
thought
was pretty cool.
yeah, I did too. I really did. The other thing I thought was really kind of for me anyways, it was really funny because rewatching it and I normally rewatch them quite frequently anyway, but this had probably been well over a year since I'd seen this. But now that I'm watching so much of Star Wars and different things, I look at that and go, that's all I'm seeing. I mean, they took everything straight from Star Wars, you know, from the lighting to, some of the gestures to kind of part of the premise. It was really kind of funny to watch. So I don't know
It
if you guys
was.
felt that way, but yeah.
It was. We had a couple, um, types of scenes we hadn't seen before. We got Boxy back, and we had a schoolroom scene,
Yeah.
and that was actually the first time we'd seen that about in this series that I remembered.
Mm-hmm.
And Athena was teaching.
Uh huh. So
So
we have to have something for her to do since I believe she still is. I believe she still is a shuttle pilot, but I'm not entirely certain even on that.
Yeah,
And
she mostly does the bridge officer thing.
yeah,
But
yeah,
actually, this is the last time we see either her or Boxy in the series.
yep.
correct. And I thought one of the reasons we not be seeing her anymore is because of a lot of the pressures and things that it gone on to with the filming and everything, which is why I thought maybe okay they kind of wrote itty bitty parts for her to play so she could exit the show.
Yeah,
But
there was an interesting podcast last year where somebody managed to get Marin Jensen for an interview, and she disclosed that she was being sexually harassed by someone at Universal, some executive at Universal. She didn't
yes.
say who. And there was a tension between, of course, she was not reciprocating. And so whoever this guy was didn't want her in the show, but the network wanted her in the show because
Hmm.
they wanted to use her for promotion. So she would either get the call or not get the call. And she was, she never quit. She was never told to leave. She just did not get the call after this episode.
Which is really a shame. She actually, I thought, was a very good actress.
Yes.
So,
I mean, for someone who didn't have much experience, I mean, I think she had just done modeling and a Hardy Boys episode before this.
yeah, that's all I was going to say. I'd forgotten it was a Hardy Boys episode. I kept thinking it was Nancy Drew, but I guess it was the Hardy Boys. You're right.
Yeah, it was called Death Surf, I think.
I'm getting visuals from it, so I had obviously saw it, but when you say a title,
Yeah,
something
Frank
jumps into your
Hardy
brain.
thinks he sees her drown or something, and but
Yeah,
then she pops up later and does some singing.
yeah. So,
Anyway,
um, off track a little bit, but that's okay. We wouldn't be doing perfectly fine if we weren't off track. But so, what did you guys think when Apollo and Starbuck got and captured the ship and brought it on board, and then all of a sudden the pod opens up and Michael steps out?
um, I like the way that they're like, holy crow,
Uh,
he's out. Because that scene followed so much debate about, not
mm-hmm.
exposing them not exposing us. And, that's where I thought the good sci-fi was, is they were actually pointing out that the atmosphere inside the shuttle was different, that,
hmm
awareness that they might have different, bacteria than the crew,
Yeah.
that they might even not even know that there's other people out in the galaxy.
Exactly. And they kind
So
of touched on, I would say, the Prime Directive, their version of it at least.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was a big debate. And then also we had Dr. Wilker back.
Yes, we did.
Oh, I can open the pods, and the other doctor,
Salic.
Salik, was like, no, these are people. No, we don't know
Yeah.
what we're doing. And obviously,
Yeah.
Wilker didn't know what he was doing because he was, screwing around with shorting stuff out left and right. Apparently, we only saw
Oh,
one,
yeah.
but apparently there were others.
Well,
But yeah, and he had that little stun gun when he came out too.
but yeah, which was pretty much worthless.
Mhm.
It looked like an early version of a pen light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it did actually.
My dad
Um,
had one like that.
what I kind of laughed at in a way was the two main forces of the officers were bickering. It's like, okay, well, we're the military side, we found it needs to be in our control. And of course, the civilian side, no, we're the doctors, they're now in our control. It's like, and you
Mhm.
brought up a good point. They said, excuse me, but they're all human. We need to figure out one, maybe they have answers to where we can find Earth. So we do need to wake them up. And yes, they are human. They're not some bacterial debris we found floating around in space we need to study.
Mhm. And we get this character Reese who sets up this, he's sort of like the perfect jerk with council security, which I guess is sort of somewhere between cops and mall cops, right? And there, there's
Okay.
this tension between them and the military, and of course between which mirrors the tension between Adama and the council, with Sire Geller played by Murray Matheson, whom we
Yep.
last heard as the voice of Spectre.
Yep.
Yep. So
Yeah.
we got to see the body this time, not the
Mhm. Yeah, some
Christmas
good
light bulb.
annoying characters, him and Reese.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't he show up again later on as something, either another member of the council, which he was playing then, or some other voice? I forget. I thought he showed up again.
I don't know. I know that Reese shows up one more time.
Yeah.
He was in 2 episodes.
Guess we've only got 4
No,
left
his
after
first
this one.
appearance was Spectre,
Okay.
and then Statesman Geller in this episode.
Okay. Well, but they've decided that these people are coming from Earth, so we need to question them. But they're finding that the air pressure, going back to kind of what you said, Adama, was, the air pressure and everything is different than the air pressure that our air pressure, for lack of a better term. So it was crushing them, so they had to get put back in the pods. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dr. Selleck is the one who, finally figured that out. So
Yep. The atmosphere, I believe, was like 20% or 1/5
something like that, yeah.
of what the Galactica crew, the Capricorns.
Yeah, they had mentioned something about it being from Caprica specifically. So it wasn't any of the other outlying planets or anything. They'd mentioned Caprica specifically.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
and I love how immediately Adama figured out, okay, Terra, that's another name for Earth, which I think most of us have known all of our lives. Yeah.
Mhm.
So here's my question. Did those of us, okay, I've known Terra being another name for Earth since I was a young child. Is it because of shows like this? Or is it because of some science class that we took that we don't remember?
Well, I think it goes back to the Latin, because in Spanish we get Tierra. And the, Michael said it best at the later end, is like, we, call many things Earth, other planets, the dirt, things like that. So, he kind of said it best that, you know, it you know, it might not be Earth, but it's their Earth.
Hmm.
The fact that they spoke the same language, and at least the idea is that they didn't have any included scenes, and I did watch most of the cut scenes, but I would say that they're at least you know kindred.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that they are a remnant of the 13th tribe because they use like minutes and hours, right, instead of centons.
Yeah, I like
Right.
that. What to
Yeah.
send
The cent I caught that. I caught that too.
That was kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was serious in the show, but to me, it seemed like a running gag.
Yes.
I almost think it might have been, you know. So, like
Always
maybe
makes me
they're
laugh.
they're writing it or something, and they go to discuss the premise with somebody else within the entertainment industry, and they probably ask that. Well, what's the centon? You know.
I mean, there were light parts of the episode. I mean, like the classroom, and then later when they introduced the androids. I mean, actually, as an adult, it's
Those androids, I swear, were Laurel and Hardy to a boot.
they're
Absolutely.
supposed to be. We had Roy Bulger who played
Uh huh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um, of course, he's famous for Babes in Toyland and
Hmm.
some little project from the late 30s. I think it was called Wizard of Oz.
Moz. Yeah, I don't think many people have probably heard of that one.
I like the sort of the painted nose as a sort of tribute to that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. But I mean, as an adult, it seemed pretty goofy. I mean, I think they knew that they had a lot of kids in the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it might well have been like just like with Fred Astaire, maybe his grandchildren were fans of the show, and
That could be.
and maybe he wanted to do it for that reason.
That could be. I just like looking at his facial expressions, even though it was covered in grease paint. You could see the little facial expressions, and they were very similar to some others that he's done.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, that's like one of the first things I remember in theater class was it's like the people in the back of the row, in the back of the audience, need to see what you're feeling and doing. And everything's larger than life when you're doing that type of performance.
Oh yeah. Um.
And then we had Bobby Van, another song and dance man.
Hmm.
Yes,
Yes.
young Bobby Van.
Very.
He must have been. I was trying to look up how old he was when he did this. And
He wasn't that young because he was making movies in the 50s, wasn't he?
all right, so this would have been 70 something.
I
I
would
don't
say
know.
he's
His
40
face still looked
something.
like he would have been in his 40s.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. 40 something.
It could be. He kind of died young though, didn't he?
He was
I
born in
don't.
28 and died in 80. So he would have been 50.
Wow. Younger than I am.
And he would have been 52 when he passed.
Mm.
Wow.
Wow.
Does it say what he passed of, or were you looking it up? Or
I'm on IMDb now. Let's scroll the ending. Malignant brain tumor.
Oh wow,
oh, how sad.
yeah. I remember Bobby Van hosting a game show called The Fun Factory.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yep. But I mean, he still looked awesome. But yeah,
Hmm.
okay. So he wasn't that young. Maybe he colored his hair. He still had good
Yeah.
skin. And
There's
he
nothing wrong with gray hair.
didn't have whiskers hanging out of the bottom of his chin like I do.
Well, of course, he was all in grease paint too. So
Yeah.
True. Yeah, but I mean, it looked smooth as opposed to
yeah. Well,
bulk.
he certainly wasn't as old as Bulger.
Yeah. So, when the council finally decides to wake everybody up from their hibernation, you know, wake them up, get them back on course basically to wherever the ship was programmed in the destination, because they find out that none of the people, Michael didn't know, nobody else knew what the coordinations were to Earth, because the ship had it all. So it's like, okay, well, we're gonna wake you all up, and then put the ship back out there and let it. We're gonna follow it and see where it goes, basically. So, but I was really surprised that they went and they had Cassiopeia stay on board with them so she could monitor the life support, and then just
Hmm.
had Starbuck and Apollo follow them. And I don't get the sleep period thing. Is it like the fighters have their own, I guess, alarm clocks? It
Yeah,
kind of,
those are alarms going off, aren't they?
Yeah, and
it
they'd have to have autopilot too.
yeah, it
Hmm.
reminded me of um oh, what's the name of the Kit? It reminded me of Kit basically having its own autonomy and driving or flying or whatever just fine, and you could be asleep, you could, be doing whatever, and the ship would just go off and fly on its own. And I always thought there kind of should have been a human there, especially if you were following another ship's coordinates.
Maybe it was automatically, following, like
Yeah.
with a tracker of some kind.
Yeah, okay. I guess that makes sense. But that
Well,
was a
also,
plot hole.
also at the beginning of the episode, they were like on a really long patrol, and Starbuck was waking up from a nap.
Yeah. And to me, that was just looking back on it now, kind of like a plot hole. I didn't really like that.
Yeah, yeah, that was kind of, I don't know. It didn't make sense. I mean, it didn't add anything other than confusion over
Is
it.
it? Thank you. Yeah.
Oh, so they can sleep while they're on patrol. That's real great.
Yeah.
This
Gee, just
is, oh, sure, go ahead.
I was gonna say sarcastically. Gee, just missed a planet back there. Because I was asleep.
That could have been Earth.
Yeah.
Yep. The other
Well,
thing that, like, I know Adama and everybody wouldn't know this, but they mentioned they were like from Lunar 7. So I don't know if is that a seventh moon. So maybe that Terra, isn't our Terra.
Yeah. And with it being Luna 7, could it be 7 moons? Because that would be, to my mind, what it would be.
That's what I was thinking.
it's never very clear. I mean, they talk about, yeah, I guess they talk about these different bases, or they call it a planet system, but like, yeah, I don't know. I guess they're just settlements on different moons.
Was it settlements or was it more like command stations for whichever faction is fighting? Is that where they're stationed? Because it's very obvious there's two. There's at least two factions that are fighting. The Eastern
It's
Alliance and
Yeah.
yeah, it's got to be more than military bases though, because they're from there, which means people have families and kids and stuff.
Yeah. So, I mean, to me, it sounded more like, colonies that they just set up for food production.
that could
Hmm.
be.
And then, with whatever politics was going on, between the two main factions from the home planet, you know, certain ones started to get militarized or taken over or seized.
Well, I just looked up a quote that I had written down before, and it said when Michael was explaining to Apollo about Terra, and he says it once was a planet of many nations, but in the end it came down to the two alliances, the Eastern and the Western. So it was one planet, not a whole bunch of different
Right,
planets,
one main
basically.
planet, and with like all these other colonies. One of the deleted scenes was a much longer. log entry by Adama. Like, it sounded like he talked to Michael and got the lowdown. But, they
Yeah.
never showed him talking to Michael. So it's like, it would have been a plot hole. So, okay, so how did Adama learn all this?
Yeah.
We probably are going to learn a little bit more or be reminded that we learned a little bit more. Because the next time we meet, when we talk about the next two episodes, the second of the two is Experiment in Terra, which brings us back
Right.
Terra, the Eastern Alliance, and it also will be bringing back the mysterious beings of light.
Yes.
So
So
we'll
you said
remind
that's the
you
next episode?
a week or two of that. So
Yes.
I gotta check our schedule. I don't know when we're reconvening.
I
We're
think we're doing the next 3 weeks, aren't we?
Oh,
Yes.
3 weeks in a row and just getting
Yes.
through it? Awesome.
Yeah.
Mm.
See, what is today? The 11th today?
Yep. So,
This is
Okay.
the 18th, isn't it?
It's the 18th. Yeah, okay, sorry, the 18th. So
so
yeah,
we'll
we're going to be
doing
doing
Baldur's
25th and the
Escape
1st.
and Experiment in Terra following this one. Then the following will be Take the Celestia and the Hand of God. And then we'll be spending an evening touching on Galactica 1980.
Yeah, and touching on Galactica 1980, I'm not sure when we're going to throw that one in because I know the last of this stuff will be on August 1st. But I don't know if we're going to take a week or two's break in between then or what. We'll have to wait and see until Michael and Roger get back on that
Trucking
one.
Across the Universe is going to be very busy because last
Oh, yes, we are.
one of our network's favorite shows restarted back up.
Yes, it did.
So,
So,
I'm hoping Michael will come back in for announcements at top of the hour or close to.
yeah.
I was driving all day. I didn't find the announcement.
So.
But let's see. There was something I wanted to go back on. We talked about the science. One of the things that I thought was funny was when they were moving the stasis chambers or the decompression chambers around.
Mm-hmm.
They immediately somehow knew that there was a cargo hatch in the bottom of the ship.
Yeah. And didn't you love just how easily that decontamination chamber just was there? You didn't
Yes.
see it
Oh, so
lowering,
they
rising.
opened the door and then cut. Somebody moved that in and then closed
Yeah.
the door.
The magic of television.
Oh,
Yeah, very convenient.
yeah.
And then, well, this
There was
all
like
leads
no
to, I
sound of
think,
machinery or anything. And the second time when they brought one out of the ship, I thought that was a riot.
Oh, I did.
noiseless
Yes,
equipment.
yes, yes, and also the decompression chambers on the ship themselves with the tube lights.
Oh, yeah,
Uh-huh.
that was fancy.
Oh, definitely. Oh, Paul, you were going to say something right there before Greg said something.
Oh, I was going to say it leads up to my favorite line from Boomer, probably in the whole series, which is, "Jolly, you forgot the kids."
Kids.
Yes.
Yeah. I was just saying, dude, that is so funny. It
That
just
was,
seems like they had a lot of slapstick comedy throughout this whole thing. It was funny.
I can also imagine like when they're delivering lines like that the were pretty punchy from like several takes already. So the delivery was
Hmm.
even funnier at that point.
I did think this was Dr. Salik's best episode, where he sort of takes a stand against the Council of the 12.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, then that was like a really good social comment there was someone within the organization has the balls to stand up and say no.
Hmm.
That is ethically wrong.
Hmm.
And that, I mean, there's been a lot of that, but I think we need a lot more of that again. We need a reminder that, you know, some things are more important than just following orders.
True. The one
Hmm.
thing I was actually surprised I did not see when they were all still aboard the Galactica. We had mentioned that Boxy had a brief shot in this, but I'm surprised, in all honesty, that Muffy wasn't there. That Muffet hadn't come to say hi to the kids.
Yeah,
Because you think that would have been something that they would have introduced.
but at the time, I don't think they were using another kid or a little person. They were actually using a chimpanzee for Muppet.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I knew they had, but I wasn't sure where in the series they'd started.
he had. Let's see. I think Muffet's last appearance was in War of the Gods, and he just had one brief scene in there,
Yep.
just
Yeah.
walking
Yeah,
in with Foxy. So maybe it was a budget cut.
could very well be.
Yep.
And who knows? By then they may have. Well, no, I was going to say maybe by then they'd already known they weren't going to make, it into another season,
Yep.
depending on how things were filmed, and because sometimes they're not filmed in order. So this could have been the last thing that was filmed.
True. They another one of the cut scenes had there was a running thing earlier in the series where like Boxy would come in and talk to Adama before he went to bed.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it'd be like a way for the writers to kind of put what's going on into perspective or move the story without actually having drama. And so there was a scene where Adama was explaining to Boxy about what was going on with the people and stuff.
Yeah.
But that had been cut for the final production.
That's too bad.
I need to watch those cut scenes.
You didn't?
Yeah.
I say I need to watch those sometime.
Oh, I'm surprised you didn't.
I
Yeah,
have not
I'm
watched
kind
the
of surprised
cutscenes
I
in
haven't
years.
too. I mean, they're right
You're the
there. I
one that
just
got me watching them.
oh. Yeah,
There was some outtakes, but I mean, other than that, they did just some cut scenes, but
for
mostly
this one, for a lot of them, I've watched the cutscenes. For this one, I haven't.
okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have scribbled here city. So
Oh yeah.
when they get to the city, or when they get to the planet,
Paradine.
yeah, that's the one. Um, when they get to the planet, first they learn that there's other people there. At first they expected it to be deserted, but then that they learned that there was other people there. So they had like neighbors over the hill. I'm thinking. Oh, like the woman was like horrified that they brought children.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
And then they thought that the men had when they went back to look at the ships, they saw that all the control panels were damaged, and they thought the men had damaged them. Because like one of the guys was sitting up on top of the ship when they got there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's not really happened, was it?
I
Nope.
thought I thought one of the gentlemen that was there had destroyed it.
No.
That was what they assumed, but it was Tic Tac Lady.
Oh, it was her that did it. Okay. Oh, okay.
I had forgotten that.
I wasn't 100% certain. So you confirmed it for me. Thank you.
I had forgotten she was the Tic Tac lady.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a riot.
Yeah, but
Because she had a little bit of a crush on Apollo.
Mark Harmon's sister.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So she had a crush on Apollo. She didn't want him to leave.
Well, would you?
Well, she didn't have it. She didn't like Michael because he was a technocrat.
Uh, Gee, and there's so many things that's actually said in this particular episode that touches bases on everything that's going on today too.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, rejection of science and
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of that. So look where science got us. Yep.
Yeah. Well, for example, the fact that they can never go to Terra because they grew up on a world with 1/5 of its atmosphere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought
Because that
that
was.
we're going back to the days of Skylab, pre ISS, and what we were learning about living in space. That any length of time in space made it really tough for people to even come back, let alone if you were born.
Oh yeah.
Shows like The Expanse really developed on that. Where they had people that had been born on the asteroid Ceres. They're actually taller, and their bodies, their bones couldn't support their weight under Earth's gravity, let alone the air pressure difference. So I thought that was kind of cool
Yeah, it was.
from a story science fiction perspective. It's kind of sad, but if people go start colonizing the moon and Mars and raise families there, those children will be
Mm-hmm.
unable to ever come home.
Yeah.
But then we find out why the Morlands were so shocked that they were bringing children onto the planet, because we find out all the children were wiped out by a neutron bomb while they
Yeah.
were in school.
Yep.
And that was really sad, I think.
Oh yeah.
And that city, which was filmed at the ruins of Expo 67 in Montreal.
I knew you knew the location of that. I recognized one of the buildings because it got used in a lot of sci-fi films. The one with all the angles, the exterior of it.
Oh yeah. I think it's been used in Star Trek a couple times too.
Probably when it was being built.
Some of them were probably used in Buck Rogers at some point too.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, a
definitely.
couple of those exteriors were used for New Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the same
But then
footage
when I
from the
saw
same
state
shoot.
of it, I'm like, God, this is something that's been neglected. So I was hoping you would know where that was because I didn't look it up.
Yeah.
So, and they were going to go to the city. They wanted to find a library or something.
Well,
Yeah.
was it so they could look for records about Terra?
That's right. They're supposed to be looking for records, but the air in the sublevels was toxic, and
Yeah.
Starbucks, started to fail. So Hector, that was with him, came back for help.
Yeah.
Yeah, the underground archive, which is basically a giant high school boiler room.
Not something you'd expect to have documents and digital records.
No, but
I mean, it could have been in the basement of a library or some medical facilities records room, pre micro, all the stuff that hadn't gone on a microfilm yet.
Yeah, it kind of looked like mostly a bunch of pipes, as I remember it.
I saw it looked like pipes, and then was it my imagination, or was you actually seeing condensation dripping up off of it?
Could be.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Universal filmed a lot of stuff in that place because it was the ubiquitous machinery room underneath something.
Hmm.
um, um, oh, while they were going back to help Starbuck, um, didn't they task Cassiopeia with trying to make Sarah jealous or something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, I think it was to drag it out so they'd have more time to look. Basically, keep her occupied.
Yep. Well, also they wanted Sarah to let them go too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make her glom onto Michael.
but but they also started introducing, and this is where got more of leading towards a possible new show, because they really went all out on an Eastern Alliance ship,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
and they kind of looked like a cross between Russian and German fascists.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
With a
So
sort of
like,
flying a kind of a Klingon D7, wouldn't you say?
yeah, yes, yep. No, that was a good looking ship, actually.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
couldn't find
So
a picture of that one, so then I started looking for a good picture of Michael's shuttle.
the Lunar Avion,
Yes.
Yeah.
aka Ranger 3.
Yeah. Oh, we talked about that before we went live. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
The famous reuse across Universal shows and across Larson shows.
Hmm.
Um, Dre, why don't you told me something I didn't know before the show about the history of this model.
Oh yeah, that it was Ranger 3 first, or it was filmed first for Buck Rogers, then they gave it that coat of paint to make it the Lunar 7 shuttle.
Oh, okay.
That was interesting because Buck Rogers didn't air until the fall after
Hmm.
Battlestar Galactica ended.
Yeah. Of course it was it in theaters first? The the Buck Rogers pilot? Was that in
Oh,
theaters before it was
was.
on TV?
It was. I think it
Yeah, I
was
think it was.
in theaters that summer.
Yeah. So I guess that took a lot of advanced production. Of course, Count Ibley's ship that crashed on the planet was made out of old pieces from Universal's Brave New World, which had already been filmed, but that didn't air until 1980. So things air out of order a lot.
Yeah.
Well, films back then that used special effects had a lot longer runtime. I mean, each of the original Star Wars films took about 3 years to make.
Yeah.
So I mean, they had a lot longer project between pre-production to the release than TV did.
Mm.
So yeah, that would explain why they scarfed up Ranger 3 to use for the Avion.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I liked how the children were the ones actually that spotted the Alliance enforcers, and they're the
Hmm.
ones that went in to get help from the neighbor. And you were asking what the neighbors' names were. You couldn't remember it. I believe it's the Morlons.
Morelands, yeah.
Morlons. Okay.
Josh and Aggie.
Yep.
Yep.
Even before Sarah called out for them to run,
Hmm.
or at least that's the way it was filmed or edited.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
you look
because
at
by
how
that
many
time,
minutes are
yeah, they
left.
heard
They
it
didn't have long
flying
to wrap
over,
up.
didn't they? And but Sarah, they were already in the house
Yes.
Yeah.
when Sarah threw that thing through the window and yelled.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
they wound up getting someone who would actually worked in the maze underground to see if they could help rescue Starbuck.
Yeah, it was the young guy that was working for the Marlins.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Doyle.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, good Irish guy from Lunar 7.
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So that is where the new Ireland is, I guess, is on Lunar 7.
Complete with the wrestler's frame and big red beard. Reddish brown.
Yeah.
He's probably related to all those Irish people on the prison asteroid.
Yeah.
What did you guys think though once they rescued everybody? And they're all returning to the Galactica and they're in the destroyer. What do you think that Letter was feeling when you're approaching the Galactica and see absolutely how huge it is? To me, he looked very humbled and ashamed
Well, if you're an
and awe.
authoritarian, and you think you're the top dog
Hmm.
over every human, here along come these humans, and wow,
Yeah,
look at this. It'd probably be like a bunch of you know Viking ships coming up against one of our Ford class aircraft carriers.
mm-hmm.
Or
But the
the
Vikings
whaling
are still
ship
trying.
running into the Klingon bird of prey.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
with their 12 officers and men.
About a dozen officers and men.
Now, is that a dozen officers plus men?
That's what I
Sorry.
wonder.
That's,
Yeah, or is
that's
it?
my wife's. Every time we have that movie on, my wife's like, is that a dozen officers plus men or a dozen
Or is
officers
a
and men?
dozen total,
Oh,
some of whom are officers, some of whom are just
that would
men.
be my understanding.
Yeah,
Only because it's not a very big ship, which we
yeah.
learn later in Star Trek 4, where we borrowed our font from.
Mm-hmm. I had heard a rumor, and I don't know if it's just because of something I remember as a kid, or if I'd heard it later. But I had heard that when this originally aired, it was originally aired not as a two-part series, but altogether as one. And they had made originally announcements that it was going to be an extra long episode, but then I guess the network decided to air things early. So a lot of people missed the intro, when they came in at the usual time. And they
Oh,
were,
did they run it an hour early?
yeah, and I guess they were very confused as to what was going on.
Hmm.
Maybe that's why I didn't remember the ship being aboard Galactica and only remember them being on the planet.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't remember. Coming to my mind, I'm picturing an old TV guide cover, but that doesn't mean anything. So.
Yeah, I remember some kind of big ad in the TV guide for it, uh, but that could very well be true about the earlier start time, starting
So,
at 7 Eastern instead of 8 Eastern.
Yeah,
yes.
something like that.
I remember thinking it was kind of a ripoff to see him approaching the ship and ending the episode with that you didn't get Adama, kind of like intimidating
Mm-hmm.
that destroyer captain.
Although we do kind of get that confrontation in the next episode.
Okay.
He goes and interrogates him in his cell.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's actually captured. They don't let him go.
No, they put the Alliance guys in the brig, or no, in the prison barge. Not even the brig.
Huh.
So yeah, the next one is Baltar's escape, and it's all about escaping from the prison barge.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's been years since I've seen these, and obviously,
Walter's escaping
40 years
experiment.
since I
Yeah.
saw these originally.
So the next two episodes, which are Baltar's Escape and Experiment in Terra, that then ties into this particular two-parter.
Yeah, they're it's like the
Oh, I didn't
sort of
remember
Eastern
that.
Alliance story arc just continues through those two.
Oh, okay. I didn't remember that. Interesting.
Hmm.
Well, I'm not sure if there's more of the actual show we need to cover. I mean, I didn't really write notes, which is making it hard for me to remember exactly where's where and what's what.
Yeah, and I'm sad to say we didn't get any comments that I noticed coming in from Facebook or from YouTube tonight. So I don't know if
Yeah.
comments weren't connected or
Yeah, he has them all connected, and there's nothing popping up showing. So.
so. If you're watching this after the fact, um, please come join us live, like and subscribe. Especially if you're on Facebook, please like us on Trekking Across the Universe so we can get to that magic 100. and I think that's probably about it. Adama, did you want me to take us out, seeing you took us in?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
I was going to say real quick before you take us out, since Michael's not here, I do know of a couple of things that we have coming up. And one
Are
of
we
them,
100% certain on them that we can
yes,
share?
he confirmed. Yeah, he confirmed them.
Okay, go ahead then.
We've got, oh shoot, now what by? It disappeared off my thing all of a sudden. Yeah, just go ahead and take us out.
Okay.
It disappeared off my calendar.
You didn't want to do August 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific?
What? You lost me.
August 10th, 3 p.m.?
Oh, hang on.
I think
What's
he announced
August
it
10th?
last night. Anyway, join us August 10th at 3 p.m. Eastern for a special guest that we have planned from the Ark.
Yes, we will have Angus, Ryan Adams from the Ark at 3 p.m. Pacific
Eastern.
time. Oh, Eastern?
3 Pacific or 3 Eastern? 3 Eastern, noon Pacific.
Okay. I noticed that they just changed around the calendars. It used to come through as PM for me, but now I guess it's coming through Eastern for all of them.
Yeah. And I do believe we have a guest on July 28th, but I do not remember the time.
Oh, I do. Hang on.
From Game of Thrones. Not Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon.
You're right. Okay. It is Paul Kennedy from House of Dragons.
Yes.
So
those are the only two I know. Other than that, follow us on internet. See our schedule there. Look for announcements on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel.
Join us next week for the next Galactica discussion. Same bat time, same bat channel.
And Adama, you can go ahead and lead us out.
Oh, of course. Fleeing from the Cylon tyranny. The last Battlestar. Oh, do you want to do it? All right.
Oh.
Are we doing it in chorus or?
Leads a ragtag fugitive fleet on a lonely quest, a shining planet known as Earth.